When walking into an accident scene, the first thing you should do is check for danger. In this scenario, you can see the steps laying over the casualty. You would then check for response by calling out the casualty's name and trying to walk up from the feet first so the casualty doesn't move their head.
Grandad, can you hear me?
Once you've identified the danger, in this scenario the steps, it's important that we move them out of the way. This makes it easier for us to work, and it means there's less chance of us becoming a casualty ourselves. If this happens, there's no one to give first aid to the actual casualty. Once the danger's been removed, move up to the casualty's head and talk into both ears whilst placing your hand on the shoulder, checking for a response. Whilst talking into the ears and saying their name, look for any signs of clear fluid or blood. Clear fluid like straw colour could indicate a fractured skull, and this is the cerebral fluid from around the brain.
Grandad, can someone come help me please?
Once you've called for help, then check inside the casualty's mouth for any obstructions that may be blocking the airway. Once you've done this, put your hand on the casualty's forehead, and then with 2 fingers on the chin, tilt the head backwards. This will then pull the airway open and will hopefully allow the casualty to breathe. Once you've done that, put your ear over the casualty's mouth so you can feel for any breath, and you can also see down his chest to see if it's rising or falling. Alright, what can I do?
Can you go get me the first aid kit please?
Where is it?
In the kitchen.
Just tick.
Someone's coming to help us. They're going to go get the first aid box from the kitchen.
There you are. Can I do anything else?
Yeah, can you just stay there for a minute please?
Once help arrives with the first aid kit, it's important that you put your gloves on. This is to ensure that you and the casualty are protected from any cross-infection. Once the gloves are on, tell the bystander to wait for you because you will need them later to phone an ambulance once you've carried out your top-to-toe survey, starting with the head and then moving down the body until you get to the legs and the arms. When checking around the head, start at the top of the head, working your way around, feeling to make sure that there's no damage to the skull. Do not press too hard, but just nice and gentle to make sure that the skull is still solid. And once you've done, every time you let go of the casualty, check the palm of your hands for any signs of blood. Then move your hands around and under the nape of the neck to feel if there's any lumps or bumps where maybe there is a neck injury. And again, when you move your hands out, check your hands to make sure there's no signs of any blood again. Then move around the casualty's eyes to feel if there's any breaks around the cheeks or at the base of the skull indicating a skull fracture. Remembering that you've already checked inside the ears to see if there's any cerebral fluid or straw colour fluid with flecks of blood, as we mentioned earlier. Once this is done, you can then start to move down the casualty's chest and then around the ribs to ensure there's no breaks to the chest or the ribs.
So I'm going to check your head. Now I'm going to check the blood and there isn't any. Now I'm going to check your cheekbone under your eye socket. Now I'm going to check your chest and then go on to your ribs. And go as far as I can under.
Once we've checked down the chest and then the ribs, we can then put our hands underneath the small of the back where there's an opening to check the spine to see if there's any abnormalities. If there is, it's important this information is passed on to the emergency services so that the casualty will be treated as having a suspected spinal injury.
Then I'm going to check your stomach, and then onto your hips. Press down slightly.
Just gently push on the stomach to see if there's any signs of pain in the casualty.
Now, your hips.
When checking the pelvis or the hips, put your hands on both sides and just push gently together to see if there's any sign of any movement within the hips. When checking down the legs, feel gently down the full length of the leg, checking for any abnormalities that may indicate a broken bone. Be careful, as there could be an open fracture, and touching this would cause considerable pain to the casualty.
And then I'm going to check your legs. And now your arms. Nothing. Excuse me?
Yep.
Could you phone an ambulance and say where we are, which is 9 Lilliput Avenue?
Yep.
That he's breathing, no sign of, and there's no sign of injury.
Okay, do you know how old he is?
He's about 60.
Okay, so 9 Lilliput Avenue, there's no sign of any
injury.
injuries. He's unconscious and breathing,
Yeah.
and he's roughly 60 years of age,
Yeah.
yeah? Okay,
And can you come back?
I shall.
So someone's just got sent to go get you an ambulance, and then they should be here.
Hello, hello, I've called them. They'll be about 5 to 10 minutes roughly.
Oh, that's okay, thank
Okay,
you.
do you want me to go or should I wait with you?
Can you wait, please?
Yeah, certainly. When sending a bystander to call for the emergency services, it's important that we give as much information as possible, like the location, a rough age of the casualty, any other injuries that we've found whilst doing the top-to-toe survey, and it's also important that we get them to come back to us with an estimated time of arrival of the emergency services. We can then pass this on to the casualty. Although they are unconscious, the hearing is the last sense to go, and throughout the video you would notice that the first aider was constantly talking and saying what they was going to check next. This is so nothing comes as a surprise to the casualty laying on the floor. We would like to point out that we used a young person in this video clip to be the first aider and an adult to be the helper, to prove that any age and anybody with the correct training can become a first aider and potentially go on to save somebody's life. If you would like to book a course as an individual, a company or a family, then please contact us at www.ftstraining.co.uk, or you can call us on 07 954 126 308. We would like to thank you for watching our video, and we look forward to doing business with you.